Class 10 students, we are back with a new chapter, that is print culture in the modern world. And do you know very interesting thing that this is the last chapter of our history book. I know, dear students, SST, particularly for class 10, you might fear studying SST, you hate SST, and you particularly hate history. But do you know this is the last time we are going to study history, because this is last chapter of our history. So print culture in the modern world. If print has not been developed, we would have no books in our school. And you might be thinking that, ma'am, it would be crazy. Yes, but the ideas that spread with the help of print coming in the culture was so slow. It was not as fast as meme shared on Instagram. Rather, it took years to write a book, because everything was done manually, right? To write a book, to duplicate a book, it took years, and now it just takes seconds to duplicate a book. So basically, technology has evolved and changed a lot. This is what we are going to uncover in this chapter, print culture and the modern world. Up till now, my dear students, in class 6, it was like what we can say a core history, right? Class 7th also, 8th also. In 9th, we have dealt with the world history, in which we studied about French Revolution, Russian Revolution, etc. But in all those things, you might have seen that certain books were written, right? So now the question comes, the time when print was not there, how the books was written, right? Second thing, when print came into being, what was the technology used for the printing, right? The printing press we have is so far technologically evolved, but where it started and how it reached up till now is the chapter we are going to deal about, right? So basically, we are not only talking about history of print culture, rather we will see how print culture has shaped the history of world, like how it has influence on French society, how it influenced the Russian society, and many more. So let us start the chapter. The first thing that comes in our mind is, ma'am, from where did print culture started? Which was the first country to write on paper? Which was the first country to make paper? And more important is that before paper also we have used certain things like palm leaves, etc. So which was the first country that printed a book, that printed a page, etc. So yes, the printing started from China. Okay, from where did it started? So it started from China, then reached Japan, Korea, and then to the world here. But now the question is, how was it done, right? So basically, if we take a paper, we would have done it in the childhood. I guess everyone would have done it in the childhood. We take a coin, right? And keep a paper on it, then rub the pencil on it. You will see the imprint of the coin on that, right? Something similar to that was done. Basically, consider this as a wooden block. This is my cell phone. Consider it that it is a wooden block, okay? In that wooden block, some designs were engraved. Like, let me tell you more correctly over here. Consider this is a wooden block, okay? On that wooden block, I will engrave the letter A. I will engrave what? Letter A. Now, I will put the ink on that. Now, what I will do? I'll just put a ink on that, and when I keep a paper, a palm leaf or something, a soft surface on it, then it will get printed over it, because ink get printed. Similarly, China from around AD 594. Okay, China from AD 594, printing was done by this method, and that method was referred as what? This method was referred as block printing. Okay, it was referred as block printing, in which a wooden surface was taken, letters or designs were engraved, inked the surface, and that it was printed on a surface of paper, palm leaves, etc., whatever was chosen as a medium, right? In China initially, now understand the logic behind it. Whenever you are taking a paper, okay, whenever you are taking a paper, it is not a ink like of a pen, it was just the raw ink. In a paper, when you will put the ink, right, will the other side of paper be able, like in present time also we have sometimes the inscriptions backside also. So the paper was of not very good quality, right? So the other side also get inked, so you cannot write on the both side of the paper. Understand the point? You were not able to write on the both side of the paper. So basically the book get very much in width. It was so more of the width book, okay, and that books were referred as accordion books because all those papers were stitched together from here, right? All those papers were stitched together so that we can have a book, and that book, because only on the one side of the paper it was written, the width of the book increased so much, right? Similarly, China started what? This block printing technology, which then reached to the countries like Japan and Korea. How it reached is the essence of the chapter, okay? And then this will reach to Europe. So basically this is one technology that Western world has not given us, rather taken from China or taken from Asia. Is it clear or not? Just give me in the comment section a thumbs up so that we can proceed further. Now understand the point here. China as a nation for a long time was the only producer of books. Okay, it's so crazy that it has not shaped the other countries to fight for it. Rather, it was the only country that was producer of printed materials, and the technology used was hand block printing. How it has done that? How, like China, we know that it is a big nation with so much of population. At that time also population was more only, right? Then how it has, like hand block printing is very slow process. It is not as printing as right now, na? So how they pace with the demand, or how they have increased the demand, how they keep in mind with the people that now we have this technology and we need to use that. So basically question from this topic comes as, what were the steps taken by Chinese government? Okay, what were the steps taken by Chinese government to popularize hand printing in China? The first thing what they have done, see, the Chinese government has a huge bureaucratic system. Do you know what is bureaucratic system? Basically civil servants, okay, they have a huge bureaucratic system. For that they conduct examination. Now whenever there is examination, there will be book, because then how you will pass the examination? So what they have done, they started printing of so many books, that too sponsored by the government. That means they don't need to pay for that. So why will they not study? Oh, exactly. So basically Chinese have a huge bureaucratic system in which civil servants were what? Civil servants were taken through examination. Examination books were provided by the government under their sponsorship. Okay, got the point or not? Now number of examination candidates went up, that increased the volume of the book in the market, and that was the reason that China, the only country at that time, has the most volume of prints in their nation. This is what an introduction to the chapter, how the first printed book appeared. So the first printed book appeared with the technology of block printing, and this was developed in China, right? How China sustained to be its largest producer. These are the points which can come as a 3-marker question in your exam. Hope you got it. Got my point? Now let us move further, that ma'am, if China got this technology, then how print reached Japan? Okay, how did print reach Japan? This is the next point here. So we know that Indians, right? Indians gave birth to a new religion, that is Buddhism. Okay, so basically Chinese were very much interested in learning Buddhism from India. So from India, right, Chinese traveler came and learned what? Buddhism. When they took back this ideology of Buddhism, they have wrought many books. Okay, they wrought many books, but now they didn't stop the learning only. Rather, they wanted to propagate the ideology of Buddhism, and for that propaganda they reached what? Japan. So basically Buddhist monks, okay, consider this point bacha. From China it reached Japan with the help of this Buddhist missionaries that wanted to spread the ideas of what? Buddhism. And do you know that China introduced this printing in Japan around 768 AD to 770 AD. In that time period, okay, in this time period particularly, this printing was introduced where? In the country known as Japan. Do you know which is the first book? Okay, and when is the first book printed? Basically it is between 868 AD. Okay, it is between 868 AD and the book is known as Buddhist Diamond Sutra. Buddhist Diamond Sutra. Now, if a book is there and if I have no pictures, will you enjoy to study? Not at all. That too in a time when we have like picture based books, etc, etc. But at that time when print was introduced, right? So to make people feel attracted towards the book, or we can say to feel it connective towards the book, because people were not literate at that time. They didn't knew what was written. To make it interesting, pictures were printed in play cards and paper money as well. Paper money was, this is how it was introduced. On play cards we have seen pictures printed. Now this is how print was gradually growing, and we have seen in the late 18th century. Now see, point here is I am moving from early times to directly 18th century, and urban culture developed here. Now what happened particularly? So what they have done now, they made the books interesting by adding the pictures. Right, we have seen that when before this urban culture, the elite members only has the access to the books because printing was so expensive, right? Consider the point that a book takes 2 years, right, to be written manually because it is engraved on a wooden piece then printed, right? It takes 2 years. Will not it be very much in charge? Yes, it will be. Right, so it took too much charge, though basically it was enjoyed by the elite peoples up till now. But gradually when some technologies were developed, which we are going to talk about it. So when technologies were developed and urban culture developed, and in Japan, okay, and in Japan we have seen a center of printing, Edo, which is now Tokyo. Okay, so the ancient name of Tokyo was Edo, which developed as an urban center of print culture here. Okay, this is how print reached where? Japan. And do you know this is a library? See, this sounds like a library, na? But it is basically Tripatak Koreana. Do you know what's Tripataka? It is basically a Buddhist book. So to keep that book, this much space was needed because we can understand that how long the book might be, and it get imprinted on the second side also. So large accordion books were kept like this so that it can be saved for the future times. So Tripatak Koreana, and this is the picture of Buddhist Diamond Sutra, page from the Diamond Sutra. These letters were first engraved on a wooden surface. See, that is the reason they have equal spaces between them, right? They were engraved on a wooden surface and then sticked to it. The ink get imprinted, and this was how what was developed. Printing culture was developed. Got the point? Now, every idea does get spreads. Like if you one day got an idea that I am going to prank my mother, right? Alongside you will take your sibling too. Similarly, every idea gets spread. When printing was done in China, it spread it to Japan, and eventually it will definitely go to Europe, because there were certain ideas, because we have seen in the global world, it is a global world. Right? It's not only the people which moves from one place to another, but when people moves, they bring the ideas, the innovations, the pranks, etc, etc. Sometimes you go to your nani's house, right? And you bring your ideas to your siblings that this is the masti we need to do. Similarly, how did print reach to Europe? So basically there is a person referred as Marco Polo. right? There is a person referred as Marco Polo who has a huge role in that. But before that, I want to tell you that, okay, look, basically this is, consider it as, don't go on my map, North America, South America. Let's take this as Europe. Okay, take this part as Russia's part, take this as Africa's part, and then, okay, a rough, very rough diagram again I'm saying. So from China there was a route that was known as Silk Route. Okay, that was known as Silk Route, which we already studied in the chapter Making of Global World. Via the Silk Route, some products were exported from China to Europe, and these products were like silk was there, right? From Asia there was pepper and many spices were there. Pottery from China also reached Europe. In return, Europe products came China and Asia, like their gold, etc. So basically, all the exchanges were done through this Silk Route. The exchange of print also came via the same route. Okay, so it was with the same route that print culture came here. Now coming to the next point. Okay, in 1235, Marco Polo, an Italian traveler, he was just spending his times in China. He even came to India in the Vijayanagar Empire, particularly in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu region. So Marco Polo was an Italian traveler. He was an explorer. He spent some time in China, and there he saw, oh, this is very good technology and I should take it back to Europe, right? So this Marco Polo, when reached Italy after years of exploring in China, took this wood block printing to Europe, right? And now as it took it to Italy, the other people from Europe also learned it from Italy region, and the rest of the Europe knows this technology now. But now Europeans, being luxury peoples, right, they started it gradually changing. Changes were brought. They started printing on luxury papers like animal skins, etc., and that was known as vellum. Luxury editions were still handwritten on vellum. Let me tell you what I mean here. So basically, printed materials was done on common paper as it was done in China. But still there were certain elite peoples. We know there are some conservative orthodox people who do not accept the changes suddenly, right? So there were certain luxury items which was still written on vellum paper, but then gradually it also get replaced by the printing. What happened now? Which book took 3 years to be written, now it is printed in 3 months. Now what would you do? What you will see? You will see that the increase of volume of prints. Okay, when there will be increase of volume of prints, demand for book increases. What happened now? The booksellers, those who were printing books, they started to hire many people to sell their books door to door. So booksellers started exporting their books to all over Europe, and this is how Europe also is aware about what? A new type of technology, that is printing technology, brought to them from China. By whom? By Marco Polo, who was an Italian explorer who spent his time in China, learned this technology, bring it to Italy. From Italy, it got to it was known to the rest of Europe. Got my point? And this is how print comes to Europe. But now, very, very important point. Okay, connect the dots here. The dot you need to connect here is C. Print culture developed in China, then it reached Japan and Korea. Okay, we know the reason for here is Buddhist missionaries particularly. Then there was an explorer named as Marco Polo. With the help of Marco Polo, it reached to Europe. What reached to Europe? Hand block printing. Okay? It was hand block printing. But we know that the people of Europe has money. Right? This was the time of Renaissance, revolution in Europe. They were developing, like after 200 to 300 years, they will be developing steam engine, etc. Isn't it? So now this Europe will replace this hand block printing to mechanical printing. See, to mechanical printing to what we can see, like the machines were introduced in this thing, right, so that we can replace the work of manual work, right. Again, this technologically made printing went to China. So this is a circle going on. Did you got the point? Now let us see that what Europe has done to printing. From Europe, we can see now the printing again reached to China. How? New reading culture developed in China. There was urban culture, diversified prints, so many prints were seen there. Reading now became a leisure activity. The people who were rich have so much ample of time. So what they were doing, it was considered as a hobby, that in the free time they will be reading the books, right. In that books now we have seen fictional narratives, poetry, romances and many more, autobiographies, romantic plays and all such things written. So a urban type of culture developed where? In China. Got this point? Right. New reading was accompanied by new technology, right, because now as reading was increasing, the demands of the books might also be increasing. To pace with that demand, hand printing would not be enough. Then what do they want? They basically want Western printing techniques, or what we call it as mechanical presses. Right, the work that was done by men now was replaced by machines. What they have done with the Indian textile, we were producing a fine quality of cotton throughout years, right. They came, took the raw cotton, went to Europe, used machines and gave us a branded cotton t-shirt, and we were quite impressed. Oh, Manchester, let us buy that. So this is how they have changed everything. Got the point? Now Shanghai, okay, Shanghai became the hub of print culture in urban print culture, not the old one, urban print culture where? In China. Mark the point, because this can come as an MCQ, that which among the following cities of China became the hub of urban print culture. So hand printing was then replaced by mechanical printing. Okay, now imagine that now in a year only 20 books are hand printed, and suddenly what happened? This 20 books changed into 20 millions and then to 200 millions. Don't you think that this is a revolution, a huge revolution in the field of printing culture? Yes, it definitely is. And this will bring what? This will bring a print revolution. But before moving to the print revolution, let us understand that before print what was done, right? What was the culture before print? So basically I want to tell you that, let us take the example of Rig Veda in Indian culture, right? Do you know how Rig Veda has shared the knowledge to others? Basically, so there was an oral tradition of sharing books. Like, I am a sage, I narrated the whole book to a person. Then that sage narrated the whole book to the next person. So this was how knowledge was transferred since centuries. Before writing, before people knew how to write. Right? But when people knew how to write, what was the way? It was referred as manuscripts. Manuscripts means scripts written by hands. What does this word manuscript means? Anything that is written by the hands. Now, if I give you a task that this is your NCERT class 10th history, first thing you will say, ma'am, this is so boring. Right? If I give you that book and ask you, print it, okay, and you have only one option, you will write it by your hand. It will take you 2 years to write it, because this 1 year was not even enough to read, to study. You are still lacking in studies. So it will take around 2 years, a long time, right? But now the literacy rate has increased in the society. People started reading books. Demands of the books has been increased, because now everyone knows there is something known as technology, print technology, right? China knew it, Japan knew it, Europe knew it, everyone knows it. So now the demands of the books was increasing. Consider the point, population was also increasing in the world now. So the demands of the book was increasing, and that manuscripts was not able to satisfy the ever increasing demand of books. So here comes the limitations. So here comes the what? Limitations of manuscripts. Here comes the limitations of what beta? Here comes the limitations of manuscripts writing. ठीक है, the first thing was that to copy the book was quite expensive because it was a laborious task, right? Many men were required. We need to pay them also. We need the paper, we need so much amount of ink and etc. So this was a laborious task which requires money, which was a time consuming activity, and they were so fragile that they were awkward to handle. Okay, the ink we have in our book and the ink we used to write in copy using the ink pen. Which one will spread faster? The ink pen one, na? So they were very fragile, awkward to handle. We cannot carry them along, and many more such loopholes were seen in what? In manuscript. So did you get the point? Whenever the question comes, a very what we can say, the more loved question for CBSE is that what were the limitations of manuscripts? You need to write these points over here. Got my point? Now, coming to the next step, there might be a person, ma'am, who developed the printing press. This person has just created a boom in the printing culture. What was it? He developed printing press. Right? Crazy. The printing press, you might have seen some movies, na? Very fastly, the dhak 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 awaj is coming, and that newspapers are printed in n numbers, right? So who was the first person who got that idea? And that person was Johannes Gutenberg. So do you know what he has done? Basically, he was a son of a merchant, right? A merchant who has olive presses, right? We know that from presses, the oil is being removed. So there was a machine which has a handle. When you rotate that handle, some weighted material goes down, press that seats, and the oil is being extracted. So he was a son of a merchant and he knew this technology. But later on, he got some very much interest in goldsmith work, right? So he shaped that gold. Particularly, he used to make trinkets and etc. So he was very good as a goldsmith, right? He used to make designs. So what he has done, he has perfected the printing press or developed the printing press, combining both the knowledges, right? How he has done, let us look at this picture. He is Johannes Gutenberg. Look, this Dari wala man is particularly Johannes Gutenberg. See, this is the frame, okay? This is the screw, this is the handle he is rotating. This is a plate, and in that plate, a plate of what we can say metal is inscribed with letters. Okay, now a plate is there, a paper is kept, printing block placed over the paper. See, here the paper is kept, and from above what is coming? A plate is coming which have inscribed letter design etc. Here is a paper. By this, with the help of this handle, it goes down, keeps a print, goes up, goes down, makes a print and goes up. But this was done manually with the help of handle. Later on, it was done mechanically too. But this is how in the year 1448, see, in the year 1448, Gutenberg perfected the system of what? Printing press. And do you know which was the first book to be printed? It was Bible. Okay, so the first book he printed was Bible. It took 3 years, right? It took 3 years to write 180 copies, and this was a very large number in comparison to wood block printing, right? Hand printing, manually writing, manuscripts, it was a huge number in compared to that. So this new technology did not entirely displace the existing system of production by hands. Why I am saying that? Because there exist conservative peoples who do not seems that handwriting as similarly as what they have opted for years, right? The change do not comes suddenly, rather it comes gradually. So after the development of this printing press also, some around 50 to 100 years, it didn't replace the existing system, the manuscript system which earlier used to have. But see the change between 1450 to 1550. Okay, see, when was it developed? 1448. So between 1450 to 1550, printing presses started to be developed in other parts of the Europe, right? And here eventually it was increasing and increasing. From the first 100 years it was 20 million copies, and the next 100 years this went to 200 million copies. Crazy, right? So from 180 copies, see, from 180 copies it went to 20 millions, then to 200 millions. What do you call it? What do you call it? So we call it print revolution. See, this is how we are jumping from hand printing to mechanical printing. Okay, hand printing started by China. How? Wood block printing. Then China took this technology to Europe with the help of Marco Polo, an Italian explorer. He took this technology and converted, the Europeans converted it to a mechanical printing, and here is how comes the revolution, that is print revolution in the world. Here comes what? The print revolution in the world. Will it have an impact to the world? Definitely. Whenever, what is revolution? A change brought up, right? Whenever there is a change that is brought in the society, it will definitely impact others, right? How did it impact it? The first thing we are here, it created a new reading public, right? When handmade printing was replaced by mechanical printing, the volume of books just boosted, right? There was a boom in the market, there was a flood in the market regarding the books. So new reading public was there. When new reading public was there, ideas were exchanged, and that ideas majorly have a debate on religious issues. When there will be religious issues, there might be some people, allied people, who took the advantage of religion and proved them as superior, like we have seen in French Revolution. The nobles, the clergy, what they have done, taking the advantage of religion, proved that we are the bigger in the society. They got feared that this print revolution is taking out reality back. Like Bible, which was read only by the elite peoples up till now, is available to everyone in the market. They will read it and reinterpret it. Okay, they will interpret what is the message of God, rather the message told to them by some elite peoples. Got my point? So here religious debate started, and the fear of print among the people who were like taking advantage of the society for a long time. But do you think that the people who are at the elite post will enjoy that? No. There was dissent, that means censorship applied by them. So this was the impact of print revolution to the world, and we are going to study each of them. What? Each of them separately, because this topic is very important to you. How question can come, ma'am? Question can directly come for 5 marks. So what is the impact of the print revolution? Okay, you will categorize it as a new reading public emerged. There was religious debates and the fear of print, and print and dissent. So I want to tell you that the Christian missionaries, see what has been done now. The Christian missionaries started opening new schools for the public so that people learn things, right? So that the literacy level rises in Europe, so that there might be a revolution and they can grow and they can rule the world. So literacy was spreaded in this particular 15th, 16th century in Europe. Because of the spread of this literacy, the demands of the books were increasing, and a new reading public emerged in the society. More books were printed. It reduced the cost because now it has replaced manuscripts. So it reduced the cost and new culture of reading emerged. Earlier, the reading was only to the elite peoples because no one was able to buy that books. Now it was so expensive. So who would have buy that? Only the rich people. Right now, but it is available in cheap money. Laborers working in factory, in the vacant time they are reading books. Traders, they want to know that what is the situation in the world, which items are more demanded, which are not. So they are seeing, merchants are seeing, right, oh, this is the season of this particular thing, this agriculture thing in India, so we can import it. See how things have grown. Common people lived oral sharing of book powers and knowledge up till now, but the transition is done. Do you think the transition is simple? No. Right? The transition was not simple because people cannot like feel it connected that, oh, this is the book we used to read earlier. No. but to make it more connected, because literacy growth was not so fast. It was slow. So printers started publishing popular ballads, folklores. Like if I give you an example, that you have option to hear a story from someone and study from a book. What will you see? Oh, let us listen the story. That's interesting. Right? But what if the books teach you in the form of stories? That will be interesting. Sometimes you go to your village and some old person is telling you the stories of the village and the nearby areas. How interestingly you sit in and study. Na? Similarly, the transition was not simple. Literacy was low. So printers started publishing. Printers are very, very smart. They are businessmen basically. So they started publishing popular ballads and folk tales books with pictures, to make it more interesting and to make it also readable for the people who are not literate, who do not know what literacy is, okay, who do not know what that letters mean. So this was done here to make the prints more accessible, more understandable by the people. But now what happened? The problem started, right? Not everyone welcomed this print revolution. Some people were very much upset by that, because these peoples used to take the advantage of the society, saying that we are the light peoples in the society and this is written in this book. Wow, that illiterate people are not able to read that book. How will they understand? But now book reading has become easy. Number of books, because of the increase of number of books, people get, what we can say, curious to read the books. They gain literacy, etc. Now the question comes here. People thought that the circulation of books may spread new ideas to the people and they will become corrupt and rebellious. Okay, they will become rebellious. They will question us that why this religious activity is important, right? Tell me the reason. We do na, like you study a little and then start asking questions to your mother. Why should we do that? Why are we doing that? And if you get the answer, how satisfied you are. Similarly, they know that when there will be circulation of books, there will be circulation of ideas and people will ask a question to us. So, rebellious nature, irreligious thought will develop. This was the thinking of the authorities who were ruling. Like we see in the French Revolution, clergy was ruling to the people, common people, third estate people. Now, who told that third estate will be considered? Who told that these people are third estate and they will not pay the taxes? Who told that? That authority is ruling. Na? So, when people develop the thought of democracy with the help of books of philosopher, do you remember in class 9, we have seen a portion of philosophers. They started questioning the clergy people. Similarly, not everyone welcomed the book, because they knew that with the circulation of book, new ideas will develop and people will start questioning us. And yes, that happened. What do you think? Yes, this has happened. There was a person named as Martin Luther. Pay attention. There was a person named as what? Martin Luther. He said that printing is the ultimate gift of God and the greatest one. What did he say? He said printing is the ultimate gift of God and the greatest one. Because of this print, I can share my ideas. Do you know, in 1517, Martin Luther wrote a book, 95 Theses. Right? 95 Theses, and it criticized the practice of Roman Catholic Church. Like I'll give you a more connecting example. There were certain practices of Hinduism, like animal sacrifices and many more things, which were opposed by Buddhists and Jains. Were they opposed? Yes. Similarly, there were certain practices of Roman Catholic Church, right, that kept that authorities of church to be the most superior one. They take the taxes from the people, etc., which they were not authorized to do. So, this person, Martin Luther, wrote this book against the bad practices of Roman Catholic Church, and went to a church, okay, pasted it on the gate. Like, see how strong he might be. How challenge he was giving to the powers authorities. He went to the church, stick to that book at the gate of the church. You know where was that church? It was in Wittenberg. So he pasted that copy. Now people traveling used to read that book and get influenced. That definitely they will be. Okay, so printed copy pasted on the door of church at Wittenberg. This book was replaced, led to division, led to beginning of Protestant reformist. I want to tell you that in Christianity, see, in Christianity there are two groups. Okay, one is referred as Catholics and the other is referred as Protestants. And do you know from where these Protestant came? Here. Who are Protestants? Who protest for something? And these Protestant came from this Protestant groups, Reformist, which was started by Martin Luther against the ideology of Roman Catholic Church, which used to authorize other people and take advantage of them. Got the point here? How will the question come, ma'am? The question will come as, printing is the ultimate gift of God and the greatest one. Who said this statement and why? Okay, question number 2. How did the fear of print was generated by Martin Luther? What was the role? So here we need to write that he has written a book challenging the authorities of Roman Catholic Church, right? Because of which a group emerged that was Protestant reformist who wanted some reforms in the already existing Christianity, that is Catholic Church system. Okay, got the point? Give me a thumbs up if you are done with this. Okay, now but do you think the authorities will sit quietly and watch you do whatever you want to do? No. Okay, rather what they will do, they will stop you, and that was done. Print and Dissent. How the Dissent was done? See here. Printed led to the rise of many distinctive religious interpretation of faith. Now what was done, as the books were open to many people, literacy rose, volume of prints were there, people started interpreting their version, and one such person was Menocchio. Okay, one such person was Menocchio. Who was Menocchio? Menocchio was also another person like Martin Luther. He was a miller in Italy. He was working in a mill. Okay, he was a miller in Italy and he started reading the books which were available in the market. Whatever were available in the market, he started reading that books. When done, he got a new interpretation of his Bible. He see that Roman Catholic Church should be enraged, right? He see the ideology of them as wrong and many practices as them as wrong. And then what? He has written his own version, reinterpretation of Bible, of culture, etc. So, do you think that Miller's activity would be welcomed by the authorities? No. They hold him twice and ultimately he was executed. He was killed. Right? And one more step taken by the Royal Church was they started they started imposing censorship. Do you know what is censorship? Stopping people to write or say something. Right? They listed many books as index of prohibited books in the year 1558. So a list was prepared, a long list. These books, against Roman Catholic Church, stop the publication. Okay, this is how it was done. So an index of prohibited books were prepared in the year 1558 and this was how it was done. Okay, I want all my students to read this box from NCERT. This is a person known as Erasmus, right? He was a reformist. Pay attention. He was a reformist. Martin Luther, ma'am, yes, that. He was also a reformist. Both were reformists. So were they same? No. Sorry. Martin Luther was a Protestant reformist and Erasmus was a Catholic reformist. I want you to read this because I want you to identify what is the difference between the thinking of Martin Luther and Erasmus. Okay, got my point? Majorly question doesn't comes from this topic, but still we need to understand what is the difference between them. Okay, now coming back to from where we started, a quick recall before moving ahead. A quick recall is that how print came to the world. So print came to the world from China. From China it reached where? Japan, and then it reached to Korea. However, the type of printing was hand block printing. Okay, the type of printing was what? Hand block printing. After this hand block printing, it reached to where? Europe. Who made this possible? Answer it right now in the comment section. So as it reached to Europe, this hand block printing was replaced by mechanical printing. Okay, it was replaced by mechanical printing. Pay attention. And then we have seen that multiple copies were published. These multiple copies publication was referred as print revolution. It was referred as what? Print revolution. Okay, this print revolution has an impact to the world. What was the impact? The first point. The impact was that what? The volume of print increased. Because of that, new reading public got emerged. See, this chapter is not so interesting, I clear you that, but the fact given here are so interesting. Now, duplicating my statement, but what I want to understand, make you understand here is, it's not so interesting as nationalism in India, Europe. It doesn't have a storyline like that. But when we talk about the fact given in this chapter, that are very interesting. Okay, so in terms to add on in your knowledge, this is very good. So new reading public got emerged. The second impact is that there was fear of print by religious authorities. We have seen the role of Martin Luther in that. And the third one is print and dissent. Index of prohibited books was prepared by authorities to stop these people. Okay, and this is how we have completed up till now. But the chapter is so long, ma'am. History chapters never end very fast. Now what happened now? Think you have a business and you want to promote it. Okay, now for promoting it and for making it popular, you will bring some new ideas. Like for an example, earlier there was a large pizza available, but it was costly. So they have seen that, yeah, this pizza cannot be eaten by one person and it is costly. So what we can do, we can prepare a smaller version and show the price as low so that the individual get curious. Oh, pizza at only 99 rupees, I should buy it, right? And when they buy it, they will get a pizza mania, small pizza. Similarly, right, to make reading interesting, what was done? The reading mania was introduced. Similarly, like your pizza mania. Okay, so in 17th and 18th century particularly, we have seen that literacy went up and there was a huge role of Christian missionaries in that, right? They have set up many schools around Europe so that literacy goes up. So in this century, we have seen that new forms of printed books were there. Now what they have done, I don't know about your generation, but I have seen that particularly, that in villages and small towns, the peddler used to come and sell encyclopedia. I don't know about you, you have seen that or not, but it happened. Like they came door to door to sell that. And among the 100 houses, I get some around 5 or 10 would have bought that. Right? So the chances percentage got increased. Similarly, in the 17th and 18th century, the bookseller hired some peddlers. And that peddlers went to door, okay, and sell those books. So this increases the chances of selling. Right? There were almanacs prepared. What are almanacs? Do you know? Ritual small calendars. Now calendars used to be in every house. Now there is a need of calendar in every house. So small almanacs or ritual calendars were prepared, and in that almanacs, to make it interesting so that people would buy, folk tales were added, ballads were added, pictures were added to make it interesting. Right? Like if we see the calendar right now also, there are certain stories, religious stories written at the sides so that it can be made interesting. So this was done. These almanacs or ritual calendars were made interested by adding the folklores and ballads. In England, we have seen, okay, see, in England particularly, petty chapbooks. Do you know what is petty chapbooks? Like which could be bought in just a small amount of money. Petty. Okay, so small books with small payment this book, chapbooks, was done, and the peddlers who used to sell them, they were referred as chapmans. What was they referred as? Chapmans. And the pages that was used of low quality, so that it is not made so expensive and the more number of people can easily buy that. Okay, so this was done. In France, where the bibliothèque blue, a blue color cover book was there. Very cheap pages were used, very low quality pages were used, but it was bought by many people. It made it attractive for the other people. This was the time when they used history, stories of history, right? Romantic plays that were written in 4 to 6 pages of books and sold. Right? If you get a book, a story book of 4 to 6 pages, a story given in very interesting manner, added pictures and arrows, flowchart, etc., you will see and be interested and you will buy it. Similarly, it was done. And now, okay, I understand this is the time of internet and you get everything on YouTube and many more stuff like that. But at that time, for people, having a story in just 4 to 6 pages, that too not very interesting. So it made an interest in the people. So, and they bought it. You know, this was the time when many scientists were doing discoveries like Isaac Newton. There were many philosophers. You have learned in class 9th about Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He gave the ideology of democracy. When French Revolution is going on, the common people is very much frustrated by the authorities. Some book comes and tell you the idea of democracy. Will you buy it or not? Yes. So, ideas of scientists and philosophers become accessible to common people, like the ideas of Isaac Newton, Thomas Paine and Voltaire. Okay, and this was how the books were made popularized and accessible to the common people in whole of Europe. Got my point? Now the question, how reading mania was used as a technique to increase the volume of print in the market. These are the 6 points. Will you able to write the 5 points? Because question will come only for 5 marks. Will you able to write it? Just give me a thumbs up in the comment section. And here we ended a new topic, that is reading mania. But here comes a dialogue by a popular man of Europe at that time, that is Louis Sebastian Mercier. Okay, who was he? Louis Sebastian Mercier. He said that the world needs to tremble. Okay, what is tremble? The world needs to get feared now. Right? Tremble, therefore, tyrants of the world. You know what is tyrant word meaning here? It means despotic. Okay, all the rulers who have been despotically ruling the Europe, now you need to fear, because what has come to the world? A new technology, that is print, has come to the world. Okay, why? What is print doing? So recently in the last slide we have seen that it was teaching common people about the ideologies of philosophers and many more such things, scientific discoveries, etc. So what we can say, a curtain of what? Innocence was taken off from the common people. Yes, this statement was given by Louis Sebastian Mercier, in which this statement, he means that the printing press is the most powerful engine of progress and public opinion. Right? It is the most powerful engine of progress and public opinion, and this is the only way people can sweep despotism away. Now come back to French Revolution you studied in class 9. Right? You have seen that, yes ma'am, there was a role of what? Role of revolutionary, there was a role of philosophers. Okay, and how did these philosophers spread their ideology? With the help of books. Right? Now there is a person who is against the clergy nature of the society, that means the tax is taken by church, okay, and the tax is only paid by third estate. This person will spread his opinion by printing it in newspapers, journals, magazines, etc. And why is it possible? Because we have what? Printing press. Connecting the dots. This is the reason Sebastian Mercier has gave this statement here, that the printing press is the most powerful engine of progress and public opinion, and this is the only way it will help you to sweep the despotism away. So despotism is the high time you should go. And the whole statement was, tremble therefore tyrants of the world, tremble before the virtual writer. I hope this is clear to you guys. Okay, now comes print culture and the French Revolution. What I was talking about is already given in your chapter, that how print affected the French Revolution, because we have seen French Revolution in class 9th and then in class 10th we have seen further. So what is the role of print culture in the French Revolution? The first thing is that when people used to gather in the shops like coffee shops, saloon and many more things, what was done? The discussions were done. You might have seen in the barber shop, etc., some magazine reading. There are people reading magazines, newspapers, etc. So yes, print popularized the idea of enlightened thinkers which told the world that this is injustice. Some people having superior space in the world and some is inferior. Rather, there is no equality, there should be rule of law, there should be a constitution for the country. All those ideas got spreaded with the help of print. The first thing, so print culture has an impact on French Revolution is the spreading of ideas. Then, whenever the ideas are spread, right, you are already ready for debates and discussions. You like that idea, but the other person didn't. So there will be a debate, there will be a heat in the movement, right? So there was debates, discussions, sometimes fights also. Yes, there was scene. There was outpouring of literature that mocked the royalty and criticized the morality. Because of this literature, now the people started questioning the what we can say, the royal people living out there. Okay, so this was the impact of what? Print revolution or print culture on the French Revolution, which you already studied in your previous classes. Got the point? Okay, now what happened? This print culture in the 19th century was quite different from the time it got introduced. That is 15th century, 1448 by Johannes Gutenberg. Right? Now the print was particularly targeting some group of people in the society. For an example, what they have done for children. Right? The first thing was done, education was made compulsory, because up till now, what was the main thing that was restricting them? Right? That was they were illiterate. Now what they wanted, their next generation to not face that. So education was made compulsory. For education, they will read books, they will get enlightened. Right? To make this education like more enjoyable, a children press was made in France in the year 1857. Okay, a separate dedicated children press which used to go to the village area, collect stories from the people, add that folklores in the textbook also to make it interesting. Grimm's brother has a very good role in that. They were from Germany. They compiled traditional folklores gathered from peasants. So what they do now? They go to village. Okay, ask the peasants to tell them all the traditional stories, etc. They take all the vulgarity out of that books, okay, that stories, and print a child version of that books, making it interesting, adding pictures, etc. So yes, Grimm's brother has a role in that, and this was particularly done for children. Okay, similarly there was for women. Women become an important reader, right? In the leisure time, in the time like in their home, they are cooking, they can read now, side by side. So yes, women become important reader as well. Writer, there were penny magazines sold in penny. It was very small amount. They buy it by the peddlers. They came at the doorsteps. So penny magazines, which used to tell them this is the proper behavior, how to be a good wife. So that title makes them interesting. Oh, we want to become a good wife. Let us take that book and read. So proper behavior, activities of housekeeping, these types of stories were made for women's in that small magazine, so that women's get attracted and buy that book and read particularly. And it also had a very good role in increasing literacy in women. Okay, so best known novelist, women were not only the readers, they were great writers of that time. There were novelists like John Austen, you might have read, Bronte sisters, George Eliot. So these were certain groups of people. And the next one were workers. For workers, in their time when they were free, libraries were set up to educate them. right? Wherever they were working, lending libraries, educated workers, artisans and lower class peoples. And that is the reason that we had French Revolution where common men was engaged, Russian Revolution where common men has been engaged, right? Particularly middle class, you can see, because middle class had a little of money, they could have bought the books and study. They have a basic level of literacy what was needed for this. Okay, so this is how 19th century has shaped reading and writing, okay, the print culture for children, women, workers. Question from this section can come separately or all together also. Okay, so yes, this is a very important topic for class 10 students. Coming to the next one, that is further innovation. Yes, that is the what we can say, change is the only constant in the world, and that printing press developed by Gutenberg gradually faced many changes afterwards. Okay, in the 19th century particularly, by mid-18th century, there was a person, Richard M. Hoe of New York. He was from New York. He has perfected the system. It was power driven, right? You might have seen the picture of Gutenberg. He was just rounding that with the help of hand. Okay, now it is power driven cylinder. Do you know it has the capacity of printing 8,000 sheets per hour? See, 180 copies returned in 3 years. Okay, now 8,000 sheets are printed per hour. So this is how it has like brought a good, what we can say, speed, accuracy. In late 19th century, offset press was made and it was capable of printing 6 colors at a time. Now eventually growing. Okay, 20th century, electrically operated press came into being. No need of mins. Everything was electrically done, right? Methods of feeding the paper, okay? Quality of plates used to print that becomes better. Automatic paper reel, there was a paper reel connected and it take the papers automatically, there was no need of min. Photoelectric control of colors, registers, and these were the further innovations done in the printing press. Got the point or not? So what was the strategy of printers? Strategy of printers was to popularize that books, right? Now see, prior there was a movie of 3 hours. Okay, we go to theater, watch that movie, done and dusted. Then later on what they have done, oh, the viewers are not coming back. Let us end the movie with a twist. Bahubali 1 and then Bahubali 2. Now the person who has watched Bahubali 1 was curious. Katappa ne Bahubali ko kyun mara? Wasn't it? Yes. Now he will go and watch the second one. Right? Similarly in books, they have created what? Series based books, right? Harry Potter 1, Harry Potter 2, 3, etc, etc. So the series based novels was written, and in England in 1920, one of the popular series was referred as Shilling series. What was it? It is known as Shilling series, and this is how they are working. Moving further with India and the world of print. Okay, now see, up till now what we have learned was in general for Europe. Okay, it was in general for Europe, but now what is the role of print in the context of India? How print came to India? Okay, and before print, what was the condition of India? So we know that as the world has done writing by hands, in India, books were also written by hands, referred as manuscripts. But these manuscripts were written on palm leaves or handmade papers. They were highly expensive, fragile, laborious, time-consuming, and many more such things. So we already know the limitations of manuscripts, which we studied in the starting of the chapter. Okay, then what happened? Manuscript got replaced by print, but how did the print came to India? Right? So do you remember that Europeans came to India? Okay, so print was not shared to India by China. Mark the point, from China the print went to Europe, and from Europe the print came to India. Who was the first European to come to India? So they were Portuguese, and Portuguese were the first one who introduced print culture in India. The first print came to India by Portuguese missionaries. Got my point? So by 1674, 50 books have been printed in Now see, like we know that the Europeans came to South India first because of that portal access. Okay, so they learned the languages. Like they stayed in Konkan region. They learned that language and printed. So initially 50 books in the year 1674 was printed in Konkani and Kannada language. Then Tamil books were printed in 1579 in Cochin. By 1730, Malayalam book was also printed. Okay, and most important thing, now see, this printing of books was majorly done by Europeans at that time. Okay, so it was done by Europeans, and we know that until this time British came into power. Okay, British came into power, and there was a person named as James Augustus Hickey. Pay attention, a person named as James Augustus Hickey in the year 1780 produced the first newspaper. It was a weekly newspaper, okay, India, known as Bengal Gazette. Do you know this was a commercial paper, and even it also have the certain secret. It was basically targeting the government itself. The British person was targeting the government because it was a commercial paper. He used to write the gossips also of the governor generals, etc. Okay, so in 1780, James Augustus Hickey began to edit this, referred as what? The Bengal Gazette. By the close of 18th century, Indian newspapers also came into being, and the first one was Bengal Gazette itself. The name was Bengal Gazette, but it was then returned by Gangadhar Bhattacharya, who was very close to Rajaram Mohan Roy. And if you know, Rajaram Mohan Roy was a social reformer in India. Okay, so this was done. Religious reforms and public debates, but obvious it is, whenever books will be returned, religious matter will be returned. Okay, because the largest number of books at that time were from religion itself. Some were related to religion in India, and there will be debates. Definitely, let us see some examples. Like there was a person, Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He was a social reformist. He was against many such ill practices of Hindu society. For an example, idolatry. ठीक है? He believed in, okay, he believed in monotheism. So he put his ideas here. Now, he do not believe in the practice of sati. He wanted to end that. He do not believe in the practice of untouchability. So, citing all his ideas, he has published this book known as Sambad Comedy in 1821. Okay, all these ideas were written in a book known as Sambad Comedy, that is 1821. Now comes in the picture the Hindu orthodoxy. Okay, who were the orthodox people who didn't enjoy these things? He said that no, Sati Pratha is being the part of Indian society, and who are you to challenge that? And many more people who in return has commissioned Samachar Chandrika. See how a culture of debate is being organized. Like I have written a book, Samvad Comedy, and my views are like this, right? There will come a person, oh, you are writing wrong, and publish the next book, that is Samachar Chandrika. See how reforms and debates are seen. Okay, by 1822 there are two Persian newspapers like Jami Jahanama and Shamshul Akhbar. Okay, Jami Jahanama and Shamshul Akhbar. There was a Gujarati paper known as Bombay Samachar. And even there were certain groups, organizations made in Indian society. Right? One among that was Deoband Seminary Society. Like if we talk about Hindu society, there was Muslim people also. right? There were ideas of Islam, there were practices which Islamist educationalists did not like, right? They also considered them as wrong. There were some Orthodox Islam people who do not like the change brought up by the Western world. Again, there was a culture of debates. So, the Deoband Seminary, founded in 1867, issues thousands of books telling there is a fatwa and the Muslims need to follow this conduct. You should not change yourself, etc., etc. So, there was a list of things to be done which was issued as fatwas, which were also written in their Quran. Okay. Now, gradually more books are being written. There was Ramcharitmanas, right, originally written by Tulsidas ji, right, in 15th century, but now it is being printed, and it was printed in Calcutta for the first time in the year 1810. When was it printed, bacha? So it was printed in 1810. Where? At Calcutta. Look, this chapter is quite boring. I agree with this, but if you just read this chapter, it is not so high weightage of this chapter. I guess a 3-mark question will come or an MCQs will come. Learn it by enjoying the chapter. Oh, this was done. This is a story. Reaction to the story. And this. Okay? Always there is a story in history and we need to learn likewise. Keep that in mind, you will enjoy the chapter. And the religious debates and the public debates here. There were certain new types of prints like novel, lyrics, short stories, essay, paintings, caricatures, cartoon came into being. Like you can see a picture here. This was painted by Raja Ravi Verma. Okay, so this is painted by Raja Ravi Verma, one of the popular Indian painter. Okay, one of the popular Indian painter. Very interesting paintings were done at that time. Many mythological stories were done by the help of these paintings. Okay, Raja, he painted a person, Raja Ritudhwaj, who is rescuing Princess Madalsa from the captivity of demons. Sorry. Now coming further, there were certain stories about women in print. Why here I am talking about women in print? See, when it comes about education, right? When anything new comes in the society, that's very evident in Indian society that men and women will not enjoy equal rights. And in Hindu society, in which education started as a Gurukul system where women were not allowed to go, right? It existed till centuries, it lasted till centuries. And women do not have that much access of going to Gurukuls, etc., because it was not considered safe for females. But when books came into being, there was a new hope because books were available to them. There could be schools opened, there could be teaching done in homes, etc., etc. But there were certain challenges in front of women, and here we are going to talk about it. Okay, talking about women in print, there was a girl in a conservative family, conservative Muslim family. Okay, her family wanted that she should learn Quran in Arabic language, but she was not understanding Arabic, and rather she wanted to learn Urdu. What she did? Did she accepted the family's manner? No. She secretly learned Urdu rightly, okay, writing, etc., learning, etc. Okay, so this is how girls reacted for learning. Second one is Rasundari Devi. By the name itself, we can understand she is from Bengal. Yes, she was from East Bengal, Rasundari Devi. She was a very, very small, young girl who was married, as it was done in Indian society earlier. Okay, she got married, Orthodox Hindu family. So what she did na, when her husband used to teach her son, pay attention, her husband used to teach her son na, she used to listen that and learned it. She teared the pages. I have read the story, very nicely written. She teared that pages from the books and then study it secretly. So after that, she also have written autobiography, that is Amar Jaban, in the year 1876. Okay. Next is Kailash Basini Devi, who wrote about the struggles, the experience about the life of women, what women were facing at that time. From Maharashtra, there were two popular ladies, that is Tarabai Shinde and Pandita Ramabai, and they wrote about the life of upper class women. Do you know, the most miserable life was lived by the upper class women in Indian society at that time, because as upper class, they had money, right? Will their husbands and families allow them to work? No. To study? No. So they have wrote this. Tarabai Shinde and Pandita Ramabai wrote about them. Okay. Ram Chadda, there was publication started for women's then. Okay. From Punjab. Okay. J is missing here. J went on a tour. So they wrote a book, Stri Dharma Vichar, that, oh, now see how men are getting the place in women book also. Stri Dharma Vichar, these are the things you need to follow to become a good wife, to become an obedient wife. But no issues, at least women started learning from this. Okay. In Bengal also, an entire area in Kata, famously known as Batala region, right? This was dedicated for women related prints, and this is how print and women is correlated in the time of Indian society when orthodoxy was at its peak. Got my point? So there will be a question that what is the relation of women and print in the Indian society? This is what you need to write. Okay. Yeah, what were the steps taken by women to get the accessibility of books? And these are some pictures I want to tell you very nicely. That's why I added these pictures. However, it's in NCERT. See this picture 1. The title of the picture is Ghor Kali. And here from Ghor Kali, they means Kalyug. They are telling that in Kalyug, na, okay, this is the end of the world. Because see, the woman will be caged by, the husband will be caged by the women. And in that, this person will cage his entire family, the mother and all. So they want to tell that if the woman will be educated, she will become corrupt and the society will become corrupt with the help of these pictures. See, here they want to show, however, here they want to show that a man is playing veena and a woman is having hookah. So they were telling that education, these books will bring the Western culture in the Indian culture and will affect the Indian belief system. Here a traditional picture is seen that women and men sitting on the same table having a dinner, etc. They want to tell us that how it will bring the Western culture in the Indian society. Okay. Print and the poor people, very, very important. Again, question comes directly from this topic. Now, it might be difficult for the poor people to get the access of the books. Yes, definitely. And the most important thing is that the rich elites. Like in Indian society, we had a Varna system in which the topmost were Brahmins. For long years, only the Brahmins were allowed to study. They were accessed with the study materials. Okay, the work of Brahmins was to learn and to make people learn. Okay, to teach. Kshatriya used to fight, Vaishyas used to do trade, and the Shudras, they were the servants of the three. But now, 18th century, people started raising their voice in India too, as it was seen in French Revolution, Russian Revolution, Hitler, Nazism, etc. So how did the poor people reacted? Yeah, how did this poor people took the help of print culture in raising their voices? And the topmost person will be always Jyotiba Phule from Maharashtra. Okay, Jyotiba Phule, he was a Maratha pioneer of what we can say women education. He stood against caste system along with wife. So caste system, and he wrote the book Ghulamgiri in 1871, telling that how we are treated as Ghulam in the Indian society. Okay, the next one is we know about the people Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, how he raised his voice for the untouchables and what work he has done. Periyar Ramaswamy Naikar. Okay, then we know about then we know about E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, also known as Periyar. Sorry for this. Kashi Baba, he was a Kanpur mill owner. right? He wrote and published Chote aur Bade ka Sawal. Now what is this Chote aur Bade ka Sawal? Showing how class and caste differences do injustice to the lower caste people. Right? This is how it was done. Poets, many poems were written from Kanpur, right? People like Sudarshan Chakra, what we can say, compilation of poem was written as the title Sudarshan Chakra between 1935 to 1955, and it was brought together and also known as Sachi Kavitaएं. So this is how poor people took the advantage of print culture to popularize that view on pictures given in your NCERT. This is about Lakshmi Nath Bezroy. He was a person from Assam, right, and has wrought various Assamese literature, known famously for Budi Air Sadhu, that means Grandma's Tale. Okay, is one among the notable work. And do you know the Assamese people sing a song that is O More Apunar Desh, O my beloved land. It is also written by him. So this is how poor people took the advantage. But whenever there is growth of something, there are peoples who are standing to make you down. And here comes print and censorship, the print and dissent, okay, which is an impact of print culture. Now what happened? There comes an existent censorship, right? Whenever you will ask so much questions in your classroom, the teacher will say, don't speak now, you will not speak now, right? Similarly, when people started raising their voice against the big people, elite people, or they started challenging the government, British government particularly I am talking here, because when people started writing, right, the authorities ruling India was Britishers, and they do not wanted anything to be written against them, right? And this word is known as censorship. That means to stop them writing, stop them speaking, that is suppression of the freedom of speech and expression, how they have done. It's very interesting, let us learn about that. Okay, so basically, as we have seen that the Bengal Gazette was written by James Augustus Hickey. He was also a British person who wrote about the gossips of British Governor Generals only. So initially the censorship was done to stop the English people who were writing there. Okay, so in 1830, irony it is, na? In 1820, Calcutta Supreme Court passed certain regulations to control the freedom of press. They said that no, this should not be published. Anything that is against the British government shall not be published over here. Got my point? So in 1835, Governor General Bentinck, but after some time when everything was balanced, Governor General Bentinck came and he revised the press laws, and it is suggested that Thomas Macaulay has a role in that. Thomas Macaulay was a liberal person. He wanted to relieve that. He formulated a new laws, okay, and revised the whole system. But then what happened na? By this time, Indian people were aware about printing. Okay, they started circulating their ideas with the help of radio channels, then with the help of newspapers, magazines, etc., because they want to tell everyone about the real face of British government, as we have seen as the result of revolt of 1857. Okay, now comes a person who passed this Vernacular Press Act in the year 1878. Do you know, it was done on the same model as Irish Press Act. Remember, nationalism in Europe. There was a land, Ireland, occupied by British dominance. Okay, so there also people raised their voice with the help of printing press na. So in the same way, Irish press laws suppressed Irish people. This Vernacular Press Act suppressed Indian people. Do you know what are the provisions? The provisions were such that if any person wrote anything that is seditious to British government, that is in the opposition to British government, right? First you will pay the penalty. Okay, and if you're not stopping writing against the British government, then we will seize your printing press. Got my point? This is how they were making Indians to get fear, right? That if we write anything against the British government, they will come and seize our printing press. But do you think that Indians stopped? Never. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak was a person, great person for India, who wrote a newspaper, magazine it was, Kesari. And in Kesari he used to write his thought against the British government, but they considered it as seditious. Okay, he was even executed, went to jail for 6 years in the year 1908, and this is what censorship means. Okay, when they make this person, when they make Bal Gangadhar Tilak executed, they said that we are doing this on the basis of vernacular press act that does not allow Indians to write anything that is against the British government. Hope you are clear with this, is it? Okay, do you know one interesting thing? The chapter is ended. Okay, so we have started the story so long, and I know that this chapter is quite long, but we just have 3 chapters this year now, and this was the last chapter. So study it happily. We have completed the last topic of this chapter also. I have given you very important notes through this video. I have taught only the important crux things what can come in your exams. And do you know, now I'm going to tell you the most crazy thing, that is question bank. Okay, now you might be thinking, ma'am, it's not crazy, we need to practice them. But my dear students, if you practice these important questions now, you are going to rock in your exams. Okay, so just 10 questions and the game is over, because this is the last chapter. So here are the 10 questions, everything you will get from my video. And still you have any doubt, comment session is always open for all my dear students. Okay, let us have a reading of the question. If some doubt comes in mind, we'll point it out. The printing press is the most powerful engine of progress and public opinion that will force the despotism away. Who said the statement? Louis Sebastian Mercier. What does he mean by that? Answer. Okay, limitations of manuscripts: fragile, awkward to handle, laborious, time consuming. Sab likh do. Okay. What is the role played by government of China in popularizing print? The first slide we have this answer. Short note on the printing press of Gutenberg. This person should be respected in history. So the question is basic. Okay. Explain any 5 reasons for bringing in large number of new readers among children, women and workers during the 19th century. We have a separate slide for this. Print played a significant role in awakening sentiments of nationalism. Now this you need to think, how print played an important role in rising the ideology of nationalism within Indians. Okay, now see, this question is little complex, because if Indians is written here, then it is very clear. But what if Indians is not written here? Ma'am, can we take the advantage of other thing also, like nationalism in France, nationalism in Italy, nationalism in Germany? Yes. But if when Indian is mentioned, okay, stay reliable only to India's context. Okay. Give any 3 reasons for favoring shift from hand printing to mechanical printing. Very clear, you need to write about the limitations of manuscripts and what mechanical print has done. So it has increased the production to about 200 millions. Okay, what made the Englishmen under the colonial rule demand a clampdown to the native press? Because people were writing against the British government. Why was Martin Luther in favor of print? Give 3 reasons. Why? Because Martin Luther wanted to write against the Roman Catholic Church, against the practices, ill practices of Roman Catholic Church. Okay. Then comes the last one. Why did some people in 18th century Europe think that print culture would bring enlightenment and end despotism? So 10 questions. Practice it, write the answers. If you have any doubt, then you have Deeksha Vedantu with you. Okay, my dear students, Deeksha Vedantu is a YouTube channel made for class 10 students. If you reached till this slide, I have a faith that you enjoyed the chapter. Okay, this is not the only chapter published in our YouTube channel. We have all the chapters of SST, maths and science already done, and we are the result of 27 years of excellence in education sector. All you need to do is hit the subscribe button right now if not done, so that you can get access, free access to all the crazy strategic videos, chapter videos, one-shot explanation and rapid revisions coming very soon. Okay, that's it for today. Hope we will meet in the next class. I want you back to my class so that I can make SST learning easy for you. Thank you, my dear students.